Good evening, everyone. I am Sophfronia Scott, Director of the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing, and this is our virtual open house, Choose Your Own MFA. So we're going to talk about the different paths available to you as an MFA student in our program here in Alma, Michigan. And I will also this evening, because we are just a couple of weeks out from our application deadline, I will also be taking questions about the application process or if anyone has questions about their application. So let me share my screen here and we will get started. Okay, I'm going to, okay, can you see that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing is a low residency program. And what does that mean? That means it is designed for people who cannot leave a job or move in order to pursue a graduate degree. So our students only need to be on campus twice a year, once in August and once in January. These residencies rotate. So, for example, this coming August, we will be on the Alma campus in Alma, Michigan, which is right in the middle of the state, about an hour north of Lansing. This January, we will be in Venice, Italy, for an international residency. We try to switch it up so that the winter residencies are travel residencies. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. For example, last August we were in Oxford, England, so we decided to have our winter residency in Alma. So but generally, we will try to keep it that way. And if we aren't traveling internationally, we tend to try to look for a warm location in the States. So we were in North Carolina one winter. Hopefully, one of our future residencies will be in a place like New Orleans, New Mexico, Malibu, California. But you get the idea. Now, this evening, we're going to talk about the different paths you can take because you really have flexibility in how you pursue the degree and what you study. And I get this question a lot. So this is why I wanted to focus and an open house on this particular question. So what you see on the screen right now is the typical path that a writer takes through our program. So if you were applying to start this August, this would be your path. Your first term would start in August and you would come to residency, and then the rest of your term would go through December. We call that course residency and independent study one. Your second term will be the one in Venice in the winter. Your fall term, your second year, you would have two more residencies, the same thing, possibly in Alma. We haven't decided on that winter term yet. Then you would graduate in August. That would be August of 2028 if you started this fall. You would have no semester work. You would only attend your fifth residency in August, in which you would deliver your creative thesis. So actually, let me backtrack on that. Your first two terms in that first year are pretty similar. So you're generating work, you're having your being guided by your mentor. Your third term, year two, third term, you are working on a critical thesis. So this is a paper of about 20 pages focused on some aspect of writing craft. When you come back for your fourth residency, and that for you, that would be this winter term, you would deliver that critical thesis as a lecture. Then the rest of that term would be focused on the completion of your creative thesis, which would be the culmination of your creative work in the program. So that when you return for that last residency, You would be delivering a public reading, excerpts from your creative thesis, as well as delivering a presentation on where you're going to go with your writing next, a sort of writing in the world presentation. And then you have your degree ceremony. Now, if you are on a single genre track, meaning you're coming to study in one genre, then that would be your track. You would spend all four of your terms in your genre of choice. That might be fiction, and that includes genres such as fantasy or horror. I get that question as well. Poetry or creative nonfiction. And that creative nonfiction can be personal essay, it can be memoir, it can be journalistic nonfiction. Now, it's good to know that it's valuable to work in a second genre. I like this quote from Amy Runyon. It's hard work, but the versatility of writing in multiple genres is a great way to stay relevant in an ever-changing industry. And I must admit that as a MFA student myself, I thought I was going to only study fiction, but I was encouraged, and I'm glad that I was, to study nonfiction as well. And so I did a dual genre degree in both fiction and nonfiction. We offered this option as well at Alma. How does that work? You choose your genres, and usually this is not something you have to declare right away. We have students who come into the program, like myself, thinking I'm going to study one genre, but then become intrigued by or interested in studying a second genre. And this usually happens because when you're in residency, you attend all of the lectures, no matter the genre. So we have people who fall in love with poetry or nonfiction or fiction and decide that they want to add a second genre. So how that would break up, you would spend 3 terms in your major genre, 2 terms in a minor genre. And you can decide how that will go after you've done your first term. You can do them back to back, or you can try to stagger them, whatever makes sense to you. So the degree would mean you add a term to your time. So it would be, instead of 2 years, it would be 2.5 years, and you would do 6 residencies. You would complete your creative thesis. Some students still do it in that 3rd term. Others push it to the 4th term since they do have an extra term. You can do that creative thesis in either or both genres, but it's still only one thesis. For your creative thesis, however, you will complete 2 in both genres and submit them as a single document. And of course, it's a bigger document than the single. But that's what you would do. Now, if you can't decide, or if you are just curious about a single genre, you can do a mixed genre degree, which does not add extra time to your studies. It just means that you're spending 3 of your terms in one genre and you're doing a second for 1 term. So if you wanted to try out some poetry, if you want to try out an essay, you can do that. And the wonderful thing about our faculty is that many of our faculty are multi-genre writers themselves. So even if you're working with one of them in fiction and you decide that you want to perhaps incorporate a little bit of poetry in the short story or novel, then they can help you do that. But if you do want to spend an entire term in a separate genre, you can do that as well. But life happens. Right? But what if something happens and you cannot stay on track to do the degree straight through? You might need to take time off. It might be for family issues. You might encounter health concerns. These things happen. And all you need to do is to let us know. You let the registrar know. You let me know that you would need to take time off. You would complete a withdrawal form take this term off and then let us know when you're coming back. You also have the option, and for some people, especially if you have children, there's a situation where perhaps you can only attend the summer residencies, or because of your work, you can only attend the winter residencies. That's okay too. You know, you can draw out the degree in that way. Now, if you can't travel, but you still want to stay on track and you still want to be a part of the program, you could also have the option to attend a residency virtually, which means we will Zoom you in live to both the lectures and the workshop. Now, for an international residency, there is the time zone difference, but we've been able to make that work. We had people attending residency virtually when we were in Oxford last summer. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to open it up and I will stop sharing my screen and we can talk about any questions that you may have about the program, about a specific track that you might be interested in, about the application process, and about anything else, questions that you might have about the program. So let me stop this share. Okay. So feel free to unmute yourself, or if you want to raise your hand, we could do it that way as well. But what would you like to know?
Hi, could you, well, first of all, thanks for having us this evening and
Yeah.
good to see your face and hear your voice. I appreciate the time that you're spending with us. Could you talk a little bit about the workshops at the residencies and what we
Yes.
should expect?
Yes. So once you're accepted, if you're accepted, you will get notification of the workshop deadline date. And you can either submit your writing sample from your application for that first workshop, or you have time to submit, to write and submit something totally different. So what happens, the workshops are divided by genre, fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. There is usually, depending on the size of the workshop, either one or two faculty overseeing it. At the basic level, they will have everyone read everyone's work and they will guide a discussion offering feedback. They will feature one or two writers per session. Usually at the beginning of the workshop, they will create a schedule so you know when your work is being workshopped. They will give the expectations for the workshop, how the feedback is expected, if there's a particular focus, what that will be. Now, the workshop is also the classroom aspect of the residency. Yes, we have lectures, but in the workshop, that's when the faculty, having read your work, have a sense of, okay, it's good that we should talk about X. Maybe, there's a muddiness in point of view and all of the pieces that we're looking at. So they will lead a session, perhaps even offer generative prompts, working on that particular craft aspect. So in that respect, they will build it as they see what's happening in the workshop. Every so often, we will also have specialty workshops that focus on a particular thing. So, for example, he's not with us this particular summer, but Robert Vivian, when he can be with us, will offer a nature writing workshop, and we'll take the students fly fishing up in northern in the Osable River, about an hour north of us. This summer, we are also going to be looking at, and not just in workshop, but via excursion and lecture, we're going to be talking about nature and environmental writing, because there may be opportunities available for students who take on that kind of writing. And so we wanted someone from the Alma undergraduate faculty, the science department, to come in and talk about their research work and how you might be a part of that. So workshops are I guess you could say, a living, breathing entity, and all voices are respected. I should say that up front. People aren't made to feel uncomfortable about their writing or their voice. It is a totally supportive community. And the students are supportive of each other from the get-go. The first meeting of every residency is a student-only meeting, and the students run it, and They welcome the new students and incorporate everyone into the community. That was a lot. Did I answer your questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. What else?
Regarding the application, I see one of the requirements is letters of recommendation. And so
Yes.
I kind of wanted to know what you're looking for in that. For context, uh, I currently don't work in writing, and
Mhm.
I mean, I did a creative writing certificate back in undergrad, but that was like years ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
uh, I don't know,
But
just trying to
you're not alone in
brainstorm.
that. No, you're not alone in that. So, and that this is a question we get frequently. So, your letter of recommendation does not need to come from someone who knows your writing. So this is if you have such a person, that's great. But really, it's someone who understands your character and can speak to how you are in community, how you are at juggling projects or deadlines, but just someone who can speak to your character.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and let them know. Usually those letters need to be emailed to the Alma admissions office. So let them know to do that and, to make sure that it's clearly marked what it is so that it can be part of your application package. So I know a couple of people have everything in except those letters and in case, you know, they should double check to make sure that the people that they've asked to send them will send them. Other questions?
Another question for me.
Yes, go ahead,
How are
Steve.
students paired with mentors?
So starting with once you're accepted, you will get information for how to contact the faculty. So you can email them, you can, view their bios on the website, decide who might be interesting to you, and you can contact them and request a Zoom meeting, phone call to talk to them about how they work with students because everyone is different. Talk to them about what you are interested in working on. They can give you ideas about how you might develop that idea with them over the course of the term. Then you will submit your top three. And that pairing happens in the weeks leading up to the residency. And by the early residency, you will know who your advisor is. Now, you have to know that some faculty are very popular, and because of that, the students who are about to graduate usually get their first choice. The way it's worked out in over the years in the program, it's just worked out that most people do get either their first or second choice. But if it's really competitive for a particular advisor, you may need to wait a couple of terms before you get that person. And you can also, if you make a case for it. Usually you're supposed to work with a different person every term, but you can make a case for repeating a term with an advisor, and we will take that into consideration.
So if you're a dual genre,
Mhm.
would you have two mentors then?
No, because you're only doing one genre at a time,
Okay.
right? During the terms. That's a good question.
Hi, I have a question, and I'm so sorry I'm late.
Hey, hi. No
Um,
worries.
I like the title of this, kind of make your own. I have, as I've kind of moved along in my writing journey, realized, and I know you have yourself, I think during your own MFA, said you were like, I'm going in for this, and I changed to that.
Mhm.
And I've realized, I don't think you have a playwriting one, but I don't think I need a playwriting one. I'm interested in poetry, nonfiction, and
Mhm.
potentially the tools of fiction
Mhm.
because I know nonfiction, but I could also learn more. And I'm wondering, like, yeah. So I'm just wondering how you can cobble that together without, doing everything, and then,
Mhm.
'em, um, and then, um, and then, um, you know, uh, d- is like if you were to apply or like I guess another general question would be I know sometimes programs people rotate off who if you look at who is in your program now that might be teaching or advisors they might rotate off and not be there and I wonder how often that happens and what the
Yeah.
expectation would be there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for the most part, the only person who is often rotating and not available is Robert Vivian. And that's because he's also an undergraduate professor at Alma. So sometimes his schedule is, packed with undergraduate courses. The only other person who he doesn't cycle off, but sometimes he can only take one student. But for the most part, most of our faculty are available. And we let you know ahead of time if anyone isn't going to be available for any given term. But I would also add, Ellen, because it sounds like you are figuring out genres and such. Think about what you want to write while you're in the program. Because you mentioned the tools of fiction. Creative nonfiction is all about using the tools of fiction to make nonfiction writing beautiful, right? Lyrical, and all of these different things. So you can still get uh, the aspects of fiction in nonfiction. So really the question is, what do you want to write and where would it best fit under the genre uh, tent?
Yes, and that's primarily what I think I would do. I'll just say that over the last few years, though, I've noticed, I've learned and discovered many more forms as I don't think I'm just discovering, I think the whole personal essay type it has sort of exploded with all these different forms.
Yeah.
And I have found that, wow, that form I could do. And it opens me up to writing about something I couldn't figure out how to write about before. So I
Yeah.
imagine all that gets addressed because I just
Yes.
feel like, yeah, it's so yeah. But yeah, as long as you're learning some, of course you would learn the fiction tools. But yeah,
Well,
I think it's all exploded. But I'm mostly interested in that. But poetry too, in some form, flash. There's so many different forms now, I think. Or maybe
yes.
I'm just
Oh,
learning about.
definitely.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about working with a mentor one-on-one, that they are open to making the exploration with you. And and you're right. So for example, there's a poetry student in our program who was talking to me about novels and her curiosity around that. And I said to her, well, you can write a novel in verse. And she did not know that. She'd never heard of that before. And so I told her, Home of the Brave by Catherine Applegate, Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. There are some amazing books written in verse, and she did not know that that was an option available to her. But yeah, genre is fluid.
And I'll just say one last thing because someone else might want to ask. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think a big part of all these programs seems to be here's some books you're going to read based on what your interests are, and then the discovery. Because, yeah, as some people, we didn't get a English degree or creative writing degree in
mhm.
undergraduate, and there's just so much out there. I'm like you just said, there's stuff
Yeah,
out there that who knew. So that
yeah,
I like that
yeah,
aspect. Thanks.
yeah. I found that as an MFA student myself, I felt like I had a double list because there was the list I came up with my advisor, but then there were the other books I would find out about along the way, and I just wanted to read everything. But the wonderful thing is that it puts you in the habit of that kind of reading so that you will continue reading. That is part of your, well, it's a huge part of who anyone is as a writer. You have to be reading. I once read this thing that said that if you are stuck, if you're a writer and if you are stuck, it's because you haven't been doing your homework. And for a writer, their homework is reading. So if anything, I would show you, like, there are books piled up in here in my office right now because um, I just finished a huge project and I'm trying to catch up on reading, um, like reading now. I can read now things that didn't have to do with that project, but I'm now starting another book. So I have stuff piled up for that book as well. So it's like reading all over the place, but it's fun.
Hi, Sophronia.
Hey, Ivy.
So speaking of getting stuck,
Yeah.
so I'm currently in the middle of my essays and I'm finding myself in a bit of a rut, or not, maybe just like a creative, like maybe self-criticism. Like, how do you have general advice on getting out of this like creative, like, I don't know, block, or just moving past whatever is like blocking?
So is this for your writing sample? Is this what you're talking about?
No, I'm doing
Just in
the
general.
yeah, well I did the writing sample, so right now I'm working on the literature essay and the personal essay. So they're both like in in a spot and I just haven't moved forward with them and I'm just yeah.
Hmm. So it helps to ask yourself a question. So what is it that you want to say in these essays? Is there a thing that you really want to communicate? The literature essay is only, what do you love to read? And what have you been reading? And it doesn't, you can start like the first draft of anything, you're just, throwing stuff on the page. So you could start with just a list. You know, I read The Secret Garden when I was, 7 years old, and it has been on in my mind ever since. Um, I loved this book. I loved Jane Eyre. I loved this. And once you have, and you'll hear me say this like clay, once you have clay on the wheel, then you can get your hands in there and start working with it. But and even if you don't have that question for yourself, putting the clay on the pot gives you something to look at, and then a question might form. Well, what do all of these books have in common? Why do I love these particular books? Right? And let the thing take shape from there. But always be questioning yourself because I find that and I was talking about this earlier today, that sometimes when I'm stuck, there is a reason, and I kind of have to excavate it. Is it something that I don't want to write for some reason? And if so, what is the reason? And can I get past it? Or, and this is something I learned when I was a journalist, if I'm stuck, I don't have enough information.
Mm.
I don't have enough reporting. There's something that I don't know. Even if it's just an opening scene, I don't know where this person was when this story started, something like that. But find out what is missing, because it's not that you're stuck. It's there's something that you don't have, right? So then it's a journey to find it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. What else? Any thoughts about the travel aspect? The Venice, I don't know if you've seen it either in the Times or on the website. The Venice Biennale started today, and it goes through November. And even though we won't be there when it's going on, it's just exciting to see the images of Venice. We're going to be thinking about the writers who have been in Venice and how it inspired their work.
So
Amy Ann, yeah.
I had a question. So for the summer
Hmm.
residency, where
Yeah.
will we be staying? Will we be on campus or will we be where will we be stationed?
So we will be on campus. There is a building, so we're not going to be in the regular dorms. Um, Alma has a building called the Opera House, and it is a building of apartment style rooms. And usually those rooms are available only for seniors, students who have a certain GPA. These were built, this whole building was built in 20, not long before I arrived. So like 2020, we were, when the residency, our first residency, we were among the first people to stay there. So you have in the room, it's an apartment suite. So you have a common area, you have a kitchen, And there is a bathroom, and depending on how big the suite is, there might be two bathrooms, and then everyone has their own bedroom off the common room. There is laundry, free laundry machines in the building, and it is right there in downtown Alma. So just down the street from the main part of campus.
So we share restrooms?
It depends on where you are in the room. So if there are two people in the room, two people are sharing that bathroom. So yeah, but it's not like a hallway common bathroom for everybody. It's not like that. Oh, and I should note, when we had the Alma residency in January, we could not be in the dorm rooms because the undergraduates take up all of the dorms. So we were in hotel rooms. So the 313 hotel, and we were also in the Sarah Villa bed and breakfast.
How do you choose the locations where the residencies are?
The international residencies are Venice and Oxford, and those are the places where we have the best contacts. So we work with a travel company who has connections with the places where we stay, the excursions that we have. So those are the main international ones. And we have been researching other international ones, but it all depends on, again, connections so that we can have the best affordability for our students and also safety concerns. So, for example, we have been looking at Turkey, for example. For the domestic residencies, we look for locations that have some artistic interest. Like I said, warm weather locations would be great. But we take suggestions as well. So looking at Austin, Texas, because we recently made a connection there.
That's great because I was like, I've never heard of, I mean, I've heard of New Mexico, but I never imagined it as, I'm from the Northeast, so I never imagined it as like a hub of like culture and arts. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, New Mexico. Oh goodness, why am I blanking on her name? The woman who Georgia O'Keeffe, lived and painted in the Southwest for years. But yeah, and this is Ivy. This is why we do travel, is not only to learn about other writers and different landscapes, but because to learn how we are changed when we enter these different spaces. So you may have heard me talk about this before, but the first time we went to Venice, one of our students who he's a fiction writer, fantasy, and we were in our private taxis going down the canals, and this was our first excursion, in the city, and he just had this look of wonder on his face, and he said, "I've been beating myself up over world building, trying to create, some sort of, magic, mystical place," and he said, "But there's magic right here." And I said, absolutely. This place can be the inspiration for whatever world you create in your book. It'll be a lot easier because this is, you could see it was like sparkling in his brain.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And again, this is something that stemmed from my own experience as an MFA student because I was I used to think that I wouldn't travel because I just loved going to the school and seeing my friends and such. But as a dual genre student and the depth of the work I was doing, there came this feeling, and I can only describe it as a kind of pull. It felt like my writing had gotten to the point where it practically demanded that I experience a different place. I ended up going to Puerto Rico one fall. No, it was January of 2014. I spent a residency in Puerto Rico, which was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
The
that's where
writers in
I
Puerto
am.
Rico. Pardon me? Oh, that's where you are?
I'm in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So we went to the Casa de Libra. Have you been there? The House of the Book? I don't know if it's even still there, but a lot of things changed after that one hurricane, and I know that that school doesn't do residencies anymore, but that would be something that I would love to somehow find a way to have our MFA go to Puerto Rico. What I loved about it also was that the writers that we met there did not have the same kind of angst that writers on the mainland have. And we learned that it was because the printing press didn't come to Puerto Rico until very late, like the late 1800s or something like that. And the House of the Book, Casa de Libre, like you learn how people still wanted to express themselves, how people made books by hand, and how there were all of these ways of getting the word out there. And it just felt to me that because writers in Puerto Rico worked so hard to get their work produced, that they didn't, it was like you don't have time for the angst. It's like, look, there are stories that need to be told, and we're going to get it done. And I just found that invigorating and inspiring. You know? So yeah, it's a wonderful place to learn and talk about writing. What else?
Hi there. Could you talk a little bit about the writing sample a bit? I really appreciated the email that that I happened
Yeah,
to get as I was crying into my keyboard, as I was about it not needing to be perfect, like looking for
yeah,
potential. Just would you speak to that a little bit, please?
yeah. You know, if you're thinking about an MFA, I'm assuming that you're already writing and that you know how to produce pages. It is the next thing that you're trying to do. You're coming to an MFA because there is something that you're trying to do with your work. And you know that you need the support and tutelage of a system to do it. So, so yeah, that was the point of my email. I want to let you know that we just want to see what you're working on. Is there potential there? You know, do we see questions or issues where we can say, yeah, we can help Lottie with this. Yeah, we see what Lottie is trying to do here. And let's help her take this and run with it kind of thing. Yeah, yes, man.
Do we go over anything like marketing or how to like do indie stuff and things of that nature? I know you all once had a like an award for publishing, but is there anything focused? Because I'm really at a point now where I want to immerse even deeper into the craft, but I also want to know how to like market and kind of get my
Yeah.
stuff out there without being like totally dependent upon an agent.
Yeah, well, actually, well, first of all, and I mean, an agent doesn't deal with marketing stuff, but um, you should know that we do focus on some professional aspect of writing at every residency. I believe in professional development. I think writers should know where their work fits in the commercial marketplace, that you should make connections. I'm always telling our students, you've just met this editor, you've just met this person, stay in contact with them. This coming residency, we're going to have an editor from Northwestern University Press with us, and she's going to be talking about both publishing, at her publishing in print, but about publishing in general. We will have, we have people come from marketing. We've had an editor from, I believe she was with Grove Atlantic, who is an assistant, and she talked about her path, how she went from being an MFA student to how she got the position that she is in now. So yeah, all of these things I think are important for writers to understand. I think it's time, a couple of years ago we had someone from Audible in, and I think it's time we should have that again, have someone back. So to talk about audiobooks. But yes. And if there's something specific that you would like to, focus on, like I hear you talking about marketing, let me know and I will make sure we have it on the residency schedule. Another request that we're doing this coming residency was a request for how do I write grants for fellowships. So we're going to be talking about that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about it all, but I'm excited about that piece as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have, there's an independent bookstore on the Alma campus. Actually, it's downtown Alma, so she's right like kitty corner across the street from the Opera House. It's called Ballyhoo Books. And all of our readings happen at the bookstore. And it's important to get to know someone who owns a bookstore because that person can host a reading for you in the future. They can also talk to you about how they get books and how it works for them to talk to publishers and how they decide what books end up in their stores. Our the owner of Ballyhoo Books is also a spoken word artist. So I think it's time in the cycle for her to come back and do her workshop for us. She does a wonderful workshop on reading your work in public. So, and that's something that you get to practice in your time in the program because there's student readings at every residency. So that when it's time for you to do your graduating creative thesis reading, you're not doing it cold. You will have had some practice.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to sign off early. I graduate tomorrow, so I have to be up really early. So I'm gonna
Oh,
step off.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Yay. I know that's been a journey for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing and for allowing me to be on. And we'll be in contact soon, I'm
Very
sure.
soon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mian. Take care.
Thank you.
Anything else? These are all great questions. Thank you. No? Well, then, why don't we wrap it up then for this evening? Please know that you can also email me if you want to have a private session, if you have more questions. I'm happy to get on the phone for a quick call. And, we're looking forward to reading your work. Stephen, thank you for what you've already sent in. Ivy as well. I'm looking forward to reading all of this to come. So thank you all for being here. This has been the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing Virtual Open House. I'm Sophfronia Scott. Have a good night, everybody.